Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Freedom's Ministry. Diagrams for Living. Chapter 2 The Balanced Soul. And God said unto him, Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And God said unto him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins. Genesis 35:10 and 11. Unless one knows the meaning of the word Israel and what an Israelite is, he does not understand the Bible at all. In the Bible, an Israelite is anyone who is seeking God. It is not the same thing as being a Hebrew. A Hebrew is a member of a certain race, perhaps the oldest race. In the Bible sense, anyone who is seeking God is an Israelite, whether he is Christian, Hebrew, Mohammedan, Buddhist, or any other religion. If one is not seeking God, he is not an Israelite, whether he is a Hebrew or not. If you are seeking God, if you believe in God and in prayer, you are an Israelite. You may make all sorts of mistakes, but if you are trying your best to find God, you are an Israelite in the biblical sense. This is important because the Bible is full of promises to Israel and things that will happen to Israel. We are told, Be fruitful and multiply. Kings shall come out of thy loins. Elsewhere it says, Thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. People used to think these were material promises to the Jews, but obviously they are not, because it is now getting on to over 4,000 years, and the Jews have never been a powerful nation in the material sense. Since the taking of Jerusalem in Old Testament times, they have nearly always been persecuted as a people. In other words, these promises did not apply to Israel as a race of people. They are studies in consciousness and apply to all people who are seeking God. If you are really seeking God, not pretending to yourself or others, but really seeking God, then your seed, as the Bible promises, will possess the gate of your enemies. You will get your health, freedom, understanding, and true place. The gate is the strategic point. This was especially true in the old world, where they had walled cities. Those who had possession of the gate had possession of the city. It is relatively true in this age. For instance, the gates of New York City are the bridges in tunnels leading into the city. There are also gates to the world, such as the Suez and Panama Canals and the English Channel and the Dardanelles, and that is why nations go to war over them. In your personal life, the gates are the strongholds of consciousness. These are the sentinels we set up, which allow certain ideas and beliefs to enter our minds. The Bible, in giving a kind of overall diagram for living, promises that if we will really put God first, we will triumph over our enemies, those negative thoughts and conditions that come into our lives. God does not have to be the only thing in your life, but he must be first. If you are honestly putting God first, then you are promised triumph. This that is the covenant or agreement between God and man. Jacob becomes Israel. Names are significant in this world names are significant in this word Israel is one of the most important of all because the name Israel tells the story of the nature of God and man. That is why Jacob becomes Israel. He was the third in line. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, body, soul, and spirit. Soma, psyche, or Numa, I meant. Israel is made up of three syllables, is, ra, el. First of all, is means the feminine principle. Is came into the Bible from Egypt, from the goddess Isis. Isis was the mother goddess, the wife of Osiris. We must remember that the Hebrews had been in Egypt for several hundred years, and the Egyptians were the cultured people of their day, the more intellectual of the Hebrews, Moses among them, drank up all the education they could get. They learned from the Egyptians, and naturally they used the Egyptian terminology. So is came from the name Isis. Isis has appeared in many guises. She was the Ishtar of the Babylonians, and then she appeared in Greece as an Aphrodite, and later in Rome as Venus. The ancient Egyptians pictured Isis as a woman standing with the moon under her feet and the infant Horus in her arms. It was a kind of preview, an earlier expression of the picture we have of the Madonna and child. We also get is in Isaac. He too represents the feminine principle. And the feminine principle is always representative of the soul or mind. Isaac was receptive, reflective, introspective, a thoughtful type. In the Bible, he is associated with wells. He was always digging wells. Wells and springs symbolize a contact with God and represent the ever new thoughts and ideas bubbling up into consciousness. The syllable Ra in Israel comes from the name of the Egyptian sun god. He is that very much needed two-letter word we find so useful in modern crossword puzzles. Ra represents the masculine principle and is typified in real life by Abraham, who is the man of action. Isaac represents the receptive state of mind, while Abraham represents the executive state of mind, and we need them both. When you are learning, studying, getting instructions from God, you must be receptive. You must be Isaac. You must be doing creative listening. But when you want to achieve something or do some healing for yourself or someone else, you must be Abraham. You must go forward in faith. You must be forceful and vigorous. When you are treating or making statements of truth, you must be cocksure. It is no good saying God is the only power, I guess. That heals nothing. But if you say God is the only power, and you mean it, that is what heals. When Jesus said to himself, God is the only power, he meant it. And he opened the eyes of the blind and unstopped the ears of the deaf. We say it and hope for the best. That is hope. It is not faith. We need the two states of mind, the receptive, when we are learning and meditating and getting inspiration, the executive, when we are going out to do and dare and accomplish. El, the third syllable of Israel, was the favorite suffix of the Hebrews for God. It comes from the Hebrew word Elohim, God Almighty, God in greatness and fullness. El means the union of the father and mother principles, making the third. El always means God in completeness, the Trinity. When you go through the Old Testament, notice how many words end in El. For example, Bethel, which means the house of God, and El Bethel, meaning God in the house of God. It is interesting that the names given to the angels end in El. There are three of them mentioned: Gabriel, Michael, and Raphael. Raphael is not mentioned in the Bible proper, but is found in the Apocrypha. Gabriel means man of God. When you get an inspiration, that is Gabriel. Even if it is only a flash, or a good idea, or a hunch, it means that you have gotten a sense of the presence of God. Gabriel comes to you from God. Michael means what is of God. Who is of God? We weigh the problem and realize that it is not of God. We deny the evil, giving no power to it. Michael contends for the truth, just as Satan and Michael contended for the body of Moses. We use the denial when fear comes to us or bad news arrives. We say, what of this? Is this from God? And when we realize that it is not, we deny it. We deny that it has any power over us. We deny that it can frighten us. We deny that there is any truth in it. When we use the denial in that way, that is Michael in the Bible sense. The third angel is Raphael, which means God is helping me. Raphael is always associated with healing. The poet Milton makes Raphael one of the central figures in Paradise Lost. The Hebrews always associated Raphael with healing, and tradition says that it was the angel Raphael that came down to trouble the waters at the pool of Bethesda, where Jesus healed the paralytic. And I believe it was the angel Raphael with whom Jacob wrestled, the angel that blessed Jacob and saved his life, who changed his name from Jacob to Israel. After you have denied the power of evil or sickness or limitation of any kind, you have gotten some sense of the presence of God. Then you will have the conviction, God is healing me. God is blessing this situation. That is Raphael. L represents the spiritual side of our nature, and it is typified by the regenerated Jacob. Jacob, the son of Isaac, started out as a very unpleasant person in a very unsatisfactory manner. But he finished up as Israel, a prince of God. That is the story of every human being who is on the spiritual path. Like so many people, Jacob started out badly, but when he found himself, he united as Israel the Abraham and Isaac qualities. That is the balanced soul, the soul that has the understanding, the receptivity, and the faith to apply it to his life. God blesses such a man. All goes well with him and with those he loves. Thank you for listening. That's the end of reading chapter 2. Keep coming back. Chapter 3 gets even better. Have a blessed day. Keep coming back.